Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this panel discussion around concrete examples of using blockchain. And we have Julia from Whizzl and Denis from Blocksquare here, and we're about to have a discussion around this subject. That is very interesting. My name is Anniina Saari, and I'm currently working on a PhD examining blockchain in real estate. But first, let's start, because I want to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about. But let's start by defining blockchain. Will you help me a bit? How would we define blockchain for the audience so that everyone knows what's up?
Okay. Blockchain is a distributed ledger technology that allows peer-to-peer transactions and basically cutting out the middleman where we at the moment spend a lot of trust in, and we are replacing that basically with can be used for proof, for transparency, and for just an open communication for everyone basically.
Yes. Denis wants to add something?
So maybe you describe, I guess, the technical or description. Maybe what it allows us to do. It allows me to send you value without any middleman, basically. I think that's powerful enough, just to think about it. Like, there's nothing else in the world that allows you to do that. And now we're discovering, in a way, what kind of value are we able to transfer using that technology. And that's kind of real estate, I think, is one of the interesting parts as well that can leverage that powerful tech. Let's just leave it with that.
Yes, that's a good definition. That's a good definition. I think we can all agree on that. So there are these huge things that can be achieved with blockchain. But let's go to the concrete stuff. You both work for startups that work with blockchains. I wish you will break it down for us from the perspective of your company. How do you use blockchain, and what are the added benefits of using blockchain? What if you use, like old technologies? Would it be a different thing, or what is the added benefit? Could you break it down for us as clearly as you can, please? Denis, I hope you'll start.
So how we use blockchain is we allow basically the issuance of tokens that are in a way regarded financial instruments, basically a way of people to invest in people or people that run a certain business that's around a real estate asset, let's say. And the cool part of it is that because there's a blockchain in the bank, that process is, the cost of that process is diminished by technology, which means that you can now apply that logic that's been present since REITs, let's say, or since the stock market, or issuance of bonds, for example, as more traditional financing instruments. You can now apply it to a parking spot. That's what we did a year ago. And I think this just, that it's applicable to a really tiny asset that becomes kind of very interesting, I'd say. So that's in short how we
use it. Yes.
So at Whizzl we created a location-based social feedback platform, and we are using blockchain technology for several cases. So, for example, we ask the tenants is giving feedback about, let's say, a crack in the building, and they can simply take a photo, and this photo then taken through the camera in Whizzl is tagged on the blockchain or hashed on the blockchain, which means it can't be changed anymore, and it has a location and timestamp. In this case, it serves as a proof. So if you are then, for example, just living in a new building where you normally have your 6 years of liability, and it comes to a claim, then it's a very simple proven case of for the insurance company, and also who is, for example, in charge to get it fixed. So it can be also used as proof at court at a later stage. So it gives us basically a proven state of trust, and it also is used to reward the citizens who contributed and to improve the service and the maintenance of the building. So we reward the citizen or the occupant later with that as well, with an integrated cryptocurrency, for example, that also can be spent for then service to service providers. So we reduce corruption and also dispute using cryptocurrency and automated smart contracts in that process.
Yes, great. So that's very interesting. From the end user perspective, how do they see it? Do they see the blockchain, or do they realize that blockchain is being used somehow?
Well, in our case, yes, they do see it. So they need to be familiar with the technology, I guess, because it allows them to have self custody. So you can basically be your own bank in that case. But there's other services that enhance this and kind of bridge it, and these are basically licensed. For example, just recently, a newly formed bank in Zug, in Switzerland, received a FINMA license, which means that they're now considered as a bank, and they are allowed to hold these digital assets in the name of their customers. So this kind of organizations can bridge the gap between those end users that need to be familiar with the technology to those users that don't have the time to learn it or to explore it more, I would say. But in terms of what we actually do, we provide a software as a service to our client, which means that we kind of developed our solution to be a B2B solution for businesses that address directly investors as their end clients. Which means that yes, we facilitate our clients that need to have certain technical skills to implement it in their platforms, but they don't require to have blockchain development skills. So we kind of bridge that for them. For example, if they would like to create an issuance system themselves, that would probably require them to invest considerable money and time to develop their own custom solution, while if they use ours, they're up and running in a lot of time. That's it.
In Whizzl, it's an absolute no. So the user does not realize at all that we are using blockchain technology in the backend. They don't need any experience because one of the biggest problems we're facing in the blockchain technology space is the lack of education. So a lot of people are just not there yet, and as our university said, for example, the blockchain is where the internet has been 20 years ago. And there is a lot of work we still have to do to bring it to the masses, but the potential, what it can achieve, and the decentralization and the disruption we can achieve in several industries is massive. So what we're doing in Whizzl, being a mass market social media platform basically, is we are applying the technology and we're giving in the B2B space, for example, the advantages of it. Like if they need, or also B2C market, if they need to use it as a proof of evidence, they can, and all the process is very simple and automated for them, but they don't notice what kind of technology we're using in the back end. But we give them the user experience with all the advantages it brings. In terms of cryptocurrency, which is mostly known, the biggest one is Bitcoin. That again, a lot of people think, oh my god, it's a scam, we don't know what it is, and it's so complicated to send it, and we need our wallet addresses and it's long number combination, and then we're getting hacked, and so all, and we can't remember the password for our clients. So all these problems basically, they don't even realize it is a Whizzl, because we are creating as well, like in the service marketplace, for example, they can spend the tokens they earned. For them, it's more like the experience, almost like they know already from partner loyalty programs like Payback or something. They used to do that within ecosystems already, but they don't know, so they don't notice it from this plate. But when, like, once our project is more advanced and the reward system is basically launched and the people are getting in touch, starting to spend it within the network, then they have the advantage that it is a cryptocurrency and not a loyalty point, as they know, because then they can, once they learn how to do it, they can send it out of the system, they can spend it anywhere where cryptocurrency is accepted, they can send it to an exchange and convert it into euros or dollar or whatever they want. They have all the flexibility and the advantage and the transparency that a cryptocurrency is giving them, but they have the ecosystem like they know already from the biggest loyalty programs in the world. So they're used to it already, and we want to bring them through our platforms to the point where they use it without even knowing, so they can start building finally trust in the system.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart approach, taking baby steps and going a bit further each time. Real estate in general has been said to be the prime example of blockchain application, and it has been said to revolutionize the whole industry. And we all know that the transaction costs are typically huge, and there are plenty of middlemen in real estate. But still, there are only quite few startups or initiatives that have made it live thus far. Do you agree with this statement, or do you think there are many? Or what do you think the status is regarding concrete examples?
I think in terms of concrete examples, I'm also part of a non-profit organization we started with a couple of colleagues from Europe, all over Europe, a year ago. It's called Fibery. And so basically I invite anyone to just check fibery.org, and if you want to connect with like-minded people or research that more, you can find also there a report where basically we researched within that organization, we researched about, I think there was more than 500 products on the market, or intention product, and out of that only a couple actually seemed to be live. Now from the Crypto Valley competition, I know that they analyzed a bit more than 120 companies, and then we were selected among the top 10, right? Out of about 30 or 40 teams that came in a few weeks before the actual finals. So that's kind of, I think that's the real kind of state of how many initiatives are actually active, which is not a lot. But within Fibery, we see fundamentally, and myself included as a startup co-founder, that we have within the real estate space, we have this problem that we have a lot of initiatives, and each of the startups uses something different, right? There is a lot of underlying protocols or underlying blockchains or DLTs or whatever that can be used. So each one kind of uses whatever thinks is best, knows best. For example, we use Ethereum because from the IT development company that we work with, we've been active on that since 4 years. So we're quite knowledgeable about that technology in general. But there's the missing piece is when you start addressing the leading companies in the industry, that you get, the question why this and why not that, and the fundamental part that's kind of preventing you maybe to making the next step, because there's always someone in the board that doesn't trust maybe an open source blockchain like Ethereum, for example. So I think that the next step maybe should be to go 2 steps back and kind of find a mutual agreement within the industry. What kind of blockchain system should be used by those initiatives, and then that creates more, less doubt, because now okay, you should all use this, or maybe there should be a new blockchain created just for for the purpose of PropTech. I don't know, but that would create eliminate the questioning of where should we develop. And now you just focus on the business applicability of the solution, of the apps, the apps basically, these decentralized applications that are built on top, and not start wondering why did you use Bitcoin or Ethereum or Corda or Nano or Tezos or I don't know, probably missed many, Neo.
Okay, so globally looking into the blockchain space and the blockchain companies who are using the technology, we are looking right now at approximately 4,000 technologies, startups and companies who are implemented it. How many of them are in the PropTech space, I'm not sure. I know, I'm personally based in Australia, and in Australia we have 150 PropTech startups. Not all of them are using blockchain technology. I think the biggest growth, PropTech startup, yeah, sorry. I think the biggest growth is in the space of tokenization of property, because that's where they actually see the biggest advantage in terms of how can we make a change in the property market. We're looking into a big property crisis in some parts of the world, and they basically say people don't want to take the big mortgages anymore, so we're looking into ways how we can basically make the investment smaller so everyone actually can participate in the asset class. At the same time, then there's other projects that are helping using blockchain for land registry, for example, like South Africa now, really solving massive problems over there with land register, where only 2/3 of all properties are actually registered under an owner, because property development companies did not do this process because it's very corrupt over there, and this data is missing, and so they are basically onto that one and really start to change something over there. We have other disruptive blockchain companies like Panelist, who is disrupting and decentralizing the energy market, providing peer-to-peer energy trading between communities and neighborhoods. We have in the construction space the smart contracts. Buchholz is a platform for them where they basically take parts of construction contracts and then automate the entire process, so they basically don't need that 20 admin and don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs for their stuff by processing, and they also basically completely get the corruption out of the way in the construction industry, service provider industry there. So there's a lot of different promising tools.
Great, we got a nice picture in the background. Thank you for your views. Does this mean that our time is up already? Let's continue. So Denis, you referred that we should take 2 steps back and agree on the technology maybe first, that we use only maybe some specific type of blockchain. Because currently, when we use multiple blockchains, we might not get all the benefits, all the potential benefits of blockchains if they're not, discussing with each other, so to say, these Ethereum and Bitcoin. Even though I know there are some examples such as Polkadot, which is making these different blockchains discuss or being compatible with each other. But okay, so we have loads of things going on, and still we have quite a big way to go to the revolution. We can maybe agree on that. But from the perspectives of what you have learned so far, what do you think have been the biggest learnings you have reached from your blockchain journey, we call it so?
From my side is for sure that the statement that we now have a technology that is trustless, and that we don't need to trust each other anymore because of technology. That statement is completely bullshit. And I mean,
tell us more about it. Why? Because blockchain is actually it's said to be you don't need to trust each other because you trust blockchain technology.
It does solve trust problems for sure within a transaction. But there's always two parties transacting. Maybe you can transact without actually knowing the other party. But there's when you go out of decentralized systems, which are really rare to find, like a really solid decentralized kind of system that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, then it kind of starts to dilute quickly. So when you go out of cryptocurrency, when you go to any kind of prop tech using blockchain, it's always some central entity controlling certain stuff, right? So you need to trust that entity, and that entity is in a way governed by a bunch of people running the company basically, or the board of directors basically, or shareholders, doesn't matter, but there's people making decisions, and you need to trust that organization to do certain things right. No matter if the medium of exchange is a token, if there's a blockchain, if there's tech between, that's just one thing that facilitates a transaction, for example, of value. But who's originating that value and needs to be trusted, and you need to know those people, and you need to know that brand. So that's, I think, the brand building part, and the building of trust in business, that's going to stay for long. And that's at the same time the biggest barrier to enter and to adopt the technology, because it's the same hurdles we were facing even before blockchain. It's the same thing that's preventing kind of massive adoption is trust. So technology is not going to solve that in the short term, for sure.
Have you met any resistance towards the technology, or has it been easy to tell what it's about to people, or have they been resistant, or what has been the feedback like when you pitched your idea?
Yes, of course. There's a lot of questions that otherwise would not be there, I guess. If I would be selling, I don't know, a bond to somebody, or something on the stock market, or shares on the stock market, there's a lot of questions you don't get. Nobody asks you how does that work, for example, and it's much more complex than how a token works actually, and who guarantees stuff. Or, for example, when you put money on the bank, most of you don't know that you're insured only up to, I don't know, 100K. Everything else, if the bank goes bankrupt, you can say goodbye. And even the question is, how long are you going to need to actually get those 100K from the bank? Well, it varies from country to country, of course, but there are some. So there's a lot of things that we just take for granted in all systems. And when there's something new, we really want to know everything. But today we all trust that this factory is nothing's going to fall in our head. But it's been there for a while, so yeah, we should trust it, right? And if it's something new, we respect it.
I think the first learning experience for me was looking into working projects who really right the hype in 2017, where we had like crypto market was absolutely booming and all the startups were just coming up with everything, and at that time it was really this, the more complicated it sounds, the better it is. Nobody understands it, but it sounds absolutely like the latest technology, so we buy all tokens that are offered on the market because it must be this innovation. This was 2017. The more complicated you were in your white paper, the more bias you would get. Now, people realize that all these super complicated projects, they were talking about technology, but they didn't have a business model behind. So all these projects, which were super advanced and taking off at that time because all these crypto traders went in the moment where the market collapsed, they didn't have a business actually. They were all just, they disappeared. And this is why we have so many scams in this industry of this startup technology, because they couldn't survive. It wasn't existing. So my biggest learning curve was make sure that you actually create a business and then look into how this technology can optimize your business. How can you save time, cost, money for the people, because you are cutting out these long working and administrative processes in between. So that is one thing. Another learning curve again. When we started to send emails, use emails, you needed to be a developer in order to actually send an email because it was so complicated. So really, now I think where we really have to work on this in order to prepare the mass market for the blockchain adoption is a simple user interface that everyone can use and not only developers. So I think if we manage to really focus on that, plus combine it with education of the people, education of existing software engineers and basically upgrading them to blockchain engineers so that we can get those skills in the company and we don't have to go out to the market and try to find expensive blockchain developers, because at the moment there's like 14 jobs per blockchain developer. It's in some countries, in Australia for example, it's really, we have a lack of these skills in the country, but the blockchain technology market is one of the leading countries in the world in that space, so we're developing a lot of disruptive projects, and for us, especially property tokenization is a really new market where now real estate agents really start looking into and want to learn about it. So there is a change happening. The normal person wants to know about it, but it has to be simple, otherwise they can't use it.
Yes, that's very good. I really like it. So we need to educate people, we need to get the business logic behind it correctly, and we must make it very easy and simple to use. Is that like as a summarization? Okay. I have no idea what time it is, but I suspect we're about to finish. Yeah. But one last question. What do you think are the next concrete examples of how is the blockchains being utilized in real estate?
First?
Automation. So administrative work basically. Again, we have to look into what's possible legally and what not. My favorite example is always a blockchain, a tokenization of a property in Brazil, where the law already allowed to automate the entire settlement process, and they did basically sell a property within 20 minutes including settlement, instead of 6 weeks process. So that's a really strong achievement over there that are not, which is just not possible everywhere yet because of all the structures. So that, and definitely tokenization of houses, like I'm getting a lot of feedback for that. They are interested and they want to make it happen, but the governments and the laws have to apply to do it. I think this definitely and absolutely in the legal space, maintenance and this typical court cases, liability, typical cases for blockchain.
Thank you. What about Denis? What do you think are the next big things in blockchain real estate?
I don't know. I think that it would already be big enough if those rare projects that continue to work actually make business, or they actually make a more efficient business, or are able to provide a business model that functions on the market, and that's it. I think that would be a huge achievement, basically, for some of those companies to actually do it. Prove that it's worth spending time and effort using the novel technology to create new business models with it. So if that's something that happens in the next 12 months, I think then that will kind of expedite the development of new projects afterwards, because there will be more trust from also from investors to invest time and money into this kind of formation of new business models that are built on top of blockchain as a technology. Whether that's bringing more efficient stuff or more efficient or automation within processes, or if it's basically creating new categories that were previously impossible and maybe we still haven't thought out right now how blockchain can bring that.
Thank you so much. So to summarize, I think we all can agree that the current state we're in, as we have all known, that there is still quite a lot of paper-based processes. So there is quite a lot in general in realms of digitalizations that can be done regarding real estate. And blockchain can be one technology that can help us to go and take the lead. Thank you very much, Denis, and thank you very much, Julia. If you have any questions, we can take a couple of questions from the audience, I guess. No questions? Thank you, everyone.